Welcome to Shah's IAS Institute. Now we are looking at editorials and question bank for 26th October 2016. The first editorial in the Hindu newspaper today is dealing with the Maoists. So this is in line with what we discussed in news yesterday. The joint coordinated operation of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha Special Forces in Malkangiri district in Odisha, which lies on Andhra-Odisha border, in which 28 CPIM top leaders were killed. Even today there is news that some more leaders have been killed by the joint operation forces. So this is an attack on these banned organization, which is a Naxalite organization. So what is Naxalism too? It started off as a movement in India in 1960s demanding development in the remote regions, the hinterlands of the country, which were majorly tribal dominated, tribal populated, and development had not reached to the same extent in these regions. So there were regional disparities, governance was not present here, and these Naxalite movements were Maoist oriented, communist oriented, means they were demanding governmental non-interference, total control of theirs on these regions. So they did not believe in democratic form of government, the capitalist or mixed economy. They wanted a communist form, means they complete control over the resources and ensuring development of all by the state. So they were a separatist movement. They wanted their governance here. So they did not allow government officials and governance to even come to these regions. So this has also proved counterproductive. Government has taken steps to tackle them through use of force. The armed forces have also been used to tackle them. Plus even development has been initiated in these remote regions now. So these tribal districts are also seeing development welfare schemes specially launched in these regions too. So the pace of course is slow, which needs to be hastened. And the second strategy is of course targeting these terrorist leaders too, violent leaders. These are Naxalite leaders. So have been attacks, counterattacks from both sides. Even in 2008, it has been pointed out that the anti-Naxal Greyhound Commandos, which is special force in Andhra Pradesh, is also involved in this present operation. They lost around 38 officers, commandos, because of the Maoist attack on them in 2008. So such attacks, counterattacks have been a regular course, but now Maoists have become very weak. That is clearly evident. So they have two options in front of them. Even government has these schemes in which they can surrender the arms and join into the mainstream. So they would be compensated for by the government and rehabilitated. So many have done that too in Odisha, so especially in this Malkangiri district too. So the remnants which are there are now tackled. There has been even another leader. It is said Sabyasachi Panda in 2012. His surrendered, the tribal cadres here surrendered in Koraput district in Andhra Pradesh, in Odisha. So such initiatives have also been taken, which have turned successful, that they have been streamlined into the mainstream now. So the option here again, they can also join political parties and political initiatives can be taken to achieve the actual goal of working for the interests of the poor tribals. So that is one option which is available to them. So of course, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had clearly stated that Maoist movement on Naxalism is the biggest internal security threat of the country. That is famously known. So now also the Naxalite movements in 2004 had joined forces together and come together too, but they have not been successful. Now the war of attrition, which it talks of, is a war trying to reduce the strength of the opposition. So this has been going on between the Maoists and the government officers, commandos, for long. So there is no solution to this. Violence may continue, use of force may continue, but development is the key. The more the government expands its developmental footprints in these Maoist infected districts, Naxalite infected districts, the more the positive results that we will see. So that is what is discussed. The districts which are affected by Maoism, Naxalism are shown here. We saw this yesterday too. So that is the spread of Naxalite threat, not just in this eastern part of India, but other regions are also seeing some presence of Naxalism and Maoism. Then the next editorial in today's newspaper, the Samajwadi meltdown, is completely irrelevant for us. It's again about the same problem with Akhilesh Yadav, the Mulayam Singh Yadav who is a patriarch of the Samajwadi Party. His son Akhilesh Yadav is the chief minister, and his so many uncles, that is brothers of Mulayam Singh Yadav. There is a war for succession as such, or power, in Samajwadi Party. The second wife of Mulayam Singh Yadav and his children are also contesting, and that's why Akhilesh Yadav is finding himself alone in this fight. He has said to be having taken many initiatives, taking the state forward, Uttar Pradesh. So there have been traditional resistance of Samajwadi Party to English education and computers has been refuted. Now Akhilesh Yadav was able to bring this on par. The excuses of patronage and rent seeking, which Samajwadi Party went ahead with and allowed these to flourish, has not been tolerated by Akhilesh Yadav government. So he has brought in governance, but he is now lacking support from his own political party. In 2017 is the assembly elections in UP. So if Samajwadi Party does not come to terms quickly, it may suffer a huge blow in 2017 elections too. So now we'll have to wait and see what happens. But from our perspective, there's nothing much which we need to know. One line is about Mulayam Singh Yadav too and his initiatives. He has been the guarantor of the safety of minorities. He had held a proper grip on the agrarian economy in UP also. So he has taken many positive initiatives. His mandal politics also for social justice, for reservation for backward classes is also known. So having done all this, now he has not been able to handle this political crisis is shocking. So that is it. The other two articles in the Hindu newspaper today are, one is on playing on geopolitical chessboard. So this is regarding again how India should portray itself on various multilateral forums. So it talks about NAM, it talks about SAARC, and in sidelines of even the BIMSTEC and the BRICS summit which took place presently, BRICS summit and BIMSTEC outreach summit. So now in this we have already discussed questions on NAM and its relevance. We have had questions on relevance of SAARC also. We have discussed questions even on geopolitical relations between India and Russia in context of USA also. So all these aspects we have already discussed. So this is one article again talking about all these issues together. So there doesn't seem to be anything new or different in this article which can be utilized. So if you have done previous articles properly, have seen previous question banks and studied them well, then this article can be skipped through. Then the next article is the future of a wounded party, which is again on Samajwadi Party issue, completely irrelevant for us. The other one is power of Bollywood. Now this power of Bollywood is also based on the Ae Dil Hai Mushkil controversy and the deal which has been brokered by the Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, which has brought in controversy. The 5 crores which has claimed that the film fraternity would pay to the army fund and vow not to allow Pakistani artists to be working in Indian film industry anymore. So again, that is of not much relevance now. We have already discussed that in news and in editorials. The next news item, one article which we have picked up for today and on which we have framed a question, is on multilateral trade agreements. This is CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement between EU and Canada, which is being negotiated, which presently has suffered a severe blow. The question is, why is the CETA between EU and Canada facing resistance? Discuss the implications of this on India. So this is regarding the CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement between EU and Canada, which has been undergoing discussion for the last 7 years. It started in 2009. So it has undergone a long term of discussions, but eventually now the Economic Commission, European Economic Commission, said that there will be a voting on this. So every country has to pass this through its legislature and voting, and once passed by all countries, then it will be effective. So it has resulted in it being rejected in one province, which results in a blow to the complete deal, because without consensus, all parties agreeing, it will not be implemented. So this is the issue which we'll discuss. In Indian context, it is important because even India-EU FTA is being discussed. So that will also have consequences on this also, is what we'll discuss. So first looking at CETA, as we see, this is launched, the negotiation started in 2009, conclusion of negotiations took place in August 2014. But the problem was these were behind closed doors, secret meetings, nothing came up in public domain. So people did not know the details about these negotiations and how the deal was moving ahead. Now after the deal had been finalized, this agreement has to be put for approval by all EU member states. So here it faced a problem. So what is being said is such closed door secret meetings actually result in questions coming in the minds of the people. So if people would have been involved in this process from the beginning, there would have had been more consensus. That is one way of looking at it. But of course, the other way is it would bring in more of confusion and pulling in diverse directions, which would not have had the deal been finalized also. So anyway you look at it, people are anti such deals. They feel that it will affect their domestic economies. So people are not ready for any free trade agreements anymore, is what we see, and especially in the case of EU. The Brexit which we saw was also because of the fears of EU imposing its policies on Britain. And presently also the FTA, it feels that Canada will be more favored. The big industrialists of EU will be more favored rather than the common people. So these are the problems which the deals face. So the ideas which these leaders put forth was that it will result in saving of billions of euros in taxes for EU exporters every year. There will be mutual recognition for various professionals from EU and Canada. But then there was one provision which is a little controversial. They said there will be an investor state dispute settlement authority which will be able to even sue governments. For any corporation having any issue, dispute settlement, they can sue governments also. So now there are questions being raised that why such a provision needs to be specially put in when both EU and Canada have strong judicial systems and strong systems to safeguard the corporate sectors. So that is one aspect. Then intellectual property rights issue, it's claimed that this deal would provide a level playing field to both the parties, EU and Canada. There will be removal of various tariffs. Around 98% of tariffs on all goods between the two countries would be removed. Cooperation in various areas like regulation, financial services, telecom sector would be brought in. So these were the benefits, potential benefits of the deal. The concerns which the deal raised were, one was of course about the investor dispute settlement courts, why this is required specially, which can sue governments. So individual governments in Europe also are having this fear of being sued by, especially by these special courts under the deal. Then it says that it will weaken the European consumer rights. They had concerns about food safety, and tariffs they say are already low. So why further reduction in tariffs are required? It will affect the domestic industries. Then it says that it will be a boon only for big businesses and multinational corporations. It will be a net loss in unemployment and environmental damage for individual citizens. So these are the controversies involved, the issues involved in the deal. The other deal, EU-US deal, which is called Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP deal, that is also being negotiated. There is fierce opposition to that deal also. Much more fierce opposition was there for this deal with Canada, CETA. So both petition has been initiated and millions of people have signed against both CETA and TTIP, with Canada as well as USA in EU. So that is about the deal. Now this is about it putting to referendum also. The European Commission had put this for ratification to all states eventually after everything had been finalized. So that became a problem. Presently it was seen Wallonia, a region, a Belgian region, whose regional legislature objected to this, and CETA was not passed by Wallonia. And in Belgium, all regions of Belgium should pass this deal, so then it would be passed by Belgian government. And if Belgian government does not pass, means even if one of the 28 states does not pass, then EU cannot go ahead with the CETA. Now looking at implications for India, India-EU FTA has been negotiated since 2007. The two major issues which lack consensus are mode for access to services, means actual movement of people for providing services, means India wants Indians to have access to EU market go and work in EU, and EU wants FDI liberalization. So these two aspects are the bone of contention. But still, the strong anti-globalization movement which we see in Europe going on right now is raising fears for even not just India EU FTA, but maybe India UK FTA may also be delayed. So those are the challenges being thrown up to the legitimacy of trade deals that EU is undertaking, and it requires more reform, transparency and decision making. So those are the aspects highlighted. So that is it for today. Thank you.